Hi there! If here your language coach, and you're probably here because there is this foreign language of your dreams you'd really like to conquer. But tonight we're not going to have foreign language classes or courses. I'd rather like to talk about those psychological blocks and mental barriers which prevent you from unleashing your full language potential. But first I'd like to share a short prehistory with you. You know, when I came to Germany 12 years ago with an interpreter diploma, I was fully convinced I could speak German just perfectly, only to realize later on that once in a company of the natives, I could not joke alone, and it frustrated me. I kept brooding over my mistakes and blunders for hours later, and that frustrated me too. And we all have heard of that monster called language barrier, but rather I'm talking about the psychological blocks which prevent you from speaking the foreign language at the wish level, and first of all from just being yourself. You know, a friend of mine told me recently, and she's an extremely interesting conversational partner and speaks very good German, but she was afraid of joining a team building event at her working place. She told me, you know, I'm going to be silent all the time, and I'm not like this. I always have something to say. So, what that friend of mine was afraid of, it was that fear of making a mistake or of being misunderstood. But here I'm going to tell you one trick, or rather a mindset, which is going to help you. Just come to think of it, even in your native language, you don't always understand everything perfectly right away. You don't always grasp everything right away. I'm sure there are quite a few songs in your native language you don't really understand the lyrics of, because the singer sings too quickly or tries to squeeze the text into the rhythm, and you just don't understand. And in my native language, there are also a couple of songs which I have never understood the lyrics of. So see, if you don't understand something right away, it's just not the end of the world. There is also this funny approach of a student of mine who is actually an incorrigible perfectionist, and her motivation was disrupted and her wings were clipped every time when her attempts to speak in German were met with, what is she trying to say? I don't understand her. So what she did, she rearranged her attitude and started seeing people as trainers. Yes, as free trainers. Come think of it, you subscribe to Netflix and you pay a monthly rate to be able to watch the shows in the native language, in the original, but you just don't use your free chance to talk to a waiter, ask him to bring you some extra milk for your coffee. Just sit at the game and step by step quit avoiding these conversations with the natives. You know, it will be fun and it will strengthen your confidence. I do hear quite often something like, I actually have a lot of opportunities to talk in German, but I somehow avoid them. There are several days per week when I visit this children's speech therapist, or there is this very talkative neighbor, but I'm just afraid to talk to them. And I'm surprised, where does the fear come from? It's not a dentist, it's not a lawyer, where their fear would be quite justified. As I told you, see this neighbor and this children's speech therapist as a free trainer. Well, let's say you paid for yoga classes, so you're taking yoga classes, but at the same time it's a splendid opportunity to practice English with your native American instructor. Just go ahead and just do vocal this sentence you've been thoroughly training while on train. Something like, I have the stretching pain in my thigh while in this position. Just think about this incomparable taste of satisfaction that you have just nailed two tasks at the same time. You have had an enjoyable class, and you have had a chance to practice English. We brand foreign language as the language of our dreams out of different reasons. Let us say you fell in love with the Korean pop and it motivated you to start learning Korean. But there are far less romantic scenarios out there sometimes. For example, if you are forced to learn a language. You move to a country for work and you are forced to learn a language, the sound of which you cannot even stand. Try to come up with motivators to like this language. Let us say if you're an art fan, try to get acquainted with ancient, classical, pop, whatever heritage of the country. Every country has something to offer. for any taste. Finding about an appealing artist from this country or this language you have to learn, you're forced to learn, is going to make the learning process more inspiring, more motivating, more fun, and it will provide lots of extra learning material. For example, songs, texts of the songs, interviews, concert releases, etc. Now I'm going to give you a couple of tricks how to memorize and implement complicated grammar constructions in your speech. Sometimes you do know complicated grammar constructions, but you still cannot use them efficiently, and instead you keep using only very simple grammar constructions. So what we are going to do, you have to pick a book you like, or a graphic novel, a comic, manga, whatever. In my case, I picked the Catchy in the Rye novel, which I'm quite well acquainted with. I got it in Japanese, which is the language I'm learning. Whenever I saw a sentence I couldn't really understand, I could correlate it with what I remembered was happening in the original English version. Here's an example how it works, how I apply it. For example, there is this scene in this book, The Catcher in the Rye, and the sentence, "You should have seen the razor Stradlater shaved himself with." I type the sentence in Japanese in my phone with the original English translation. This should have, could have participle construction, I think it's quite challenging in any language. So what I do, every time I need to use the should have or could have construction when talking in Japanese, I recall the Stradlater guy and his razor in my memory, and I apply this grammar construction in Japanese. Of course, I do change the words applying to my situation, but I keep doing it until this grammar is ultimately burnt in my memory. What else you can do to remember complicated grammar constructions is to recap the sentences or even the whole passages you wrote down into your phone while commuting on train, and it can be especially handy when it applies to a current situation. Let's say in my case, for instance, I wrote down the sentence that Holden, the main character of the novel, said. I had to keep getting up to look at that map so we would know where to get off. And in Japanese, this sentence is as bulky as in English. So what I did, I kept repeating it while on train. So I knew 100% it was burnt into my memory and I would be able to replicate these grammar constructions when talking to Japanese native speakers. All in all, there's one big clue to mastering any language, and this is to fall in love with this language. A friend of mine who had to learn Hungarian, known to be one of the most difficult languages in the world, and managed it, voiced this very striking and very simple truth. And I can only confirm it. Just don't think of your daily language routine as, "Oh, not again." Today we explored a range of common psychological barriers in language learning, and I hope it helped you identify your own challenges. You've seen with what tricks and mindset shift you can create a supportive learning environment. If you are eager to learn more on overcoming psychological blocks in language learning and discover more life hacks, you could be interested in my upcoming course, Break Language Barriers. There, you're going to learn how to get rid of this notorious habit of building a sentence in your head before saying it in foreign language, and many more tricks, strategies, and life hacks which I developed and accumulated over the years of practice. You will find the link to the course in the description for this video. If it was with you, thanks for watching and see you